Hey there, Icarus here, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. Today we're taking a look at Action Doom Rampage Edition, a mod that dares to ask the question, what if Doom was Contra? Believe it or not, this is not the first time I've played Action Doom. I played the original classic version back in 2015, but the Rampage Edition in its name here means that it's had somewhat of an overhaul, bringing it a bit more up to date, and about time too, considering that the original was released way back in 2004. For reference, that would be the year that most of us would have been having our minds blown by the likes of Half-Life 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, God, Doom 3 came out that year. Someone fetch me my walking stick! In terms of changes, however, Rampage Edition swaps out the original, highly impressive D-hack modding of the time for Z-Doom's more modern decorate features. A new life system now means you no longer kick the bucket in one single hit, though if you've been pining for that experience, Contra difficulty still somewhat has you covered. Levels have been reworked with GZ Doom features in mind, namely looking nicer and playing better. Weapons have been overhauled, multiple slots for them, and of course, the whole thing is now officially widescreen compatible, because guess what, all you young whippersnappers watching this, back in the day, we largely rocked 4x3, and we tolerated it. Anyways, Action Doom kicks off with you jumping out of a plane to liberate a city from Swedish Rebels. They are seriously opposed to the concept of walls, buildings in general, and it's here that you will discover that, much like its inspirations, getting through a level here is a fairly straightforward affair, as in the direction you head is largely forward. The real trick, however, is surviving. Even with an overhauled health system, playing Action Doom on normal difficulty remains a formidable experience that takes a little bit of time to acclimatize to. The system is a little bit more lenient. You get 3 hearts. Every hit you take from an enemy, either direct or via projectile, has you losing 1, and there's a brief period of invincibility to stop you losing the entire stack too quickly. Safety grenades are interesting as an addition too. If overwhelmed, you can detonate one of these bad boys and enemies in your immediate surroundings get taken care of. Much like the hearts, however, you only get 3. Here, you'll also be able to discover a secret side section, recreating a bit of Super Mario in first person, reminding me of the horrors of first-person platforming, and in one of my sessions, actually reducing me to 1 heart, which I then had to deal with for the entirety of the run. Even Mario wants us to keep it hardcore. Back end of the level sees you facing off with a tank, which seems to be best handled with bullets. Believe me, I tried rockets. Damn thing just did not want to explode. In general, I just found it difficult to tell when exactly I was dealing damage. But after that, you get introduced to the real boss of the level, the wall. Well, not just any wall, it's also a wall bristling with turrets. Have to admit, mildly sweaty experience dealing with this on only 1 heart. Of all things, gave me slight PTSD flashbacks of Toho Doom. Oh god, please make it stop! Next part forms what I regard as the meat of Action Doom. A remote island facility owned by who else but the UAC has fallen silent. It's up to you to find out what it's demons. They've been screwing around with demons and teleporters again. It's UAC, are we surprised? What's most interesting about this part of the level, however, is that it actually features multiple routes. Once you reach this bridge here, you might notice a few things. First being that, 1, it's in dire need of repair, and the second being that there's a boat to the bottom of the cliff. Oh, and third, there's a literal signpost giving you the option to either continue through the forest or take a detour through the vent. Each route here is perfectly viable, all of them eventually leading you back to the same spot, just via differing methods. If you take the forest route, for example, you get to route through the front of the UAC facility, well, provided you massacre a whole bunch of soldiers and a crate slug, I might add first. This will form most people's first run through of Action Doom, taking you to the labs where you'll discover the UAC's trademark lack of ethical concern, resulting in some pretty derpy looking variants of the classic imp. Back end of this will see you making your way through a huge room filled with imps and stasis tubes. Flip a switch, it'll wake up the imps. You trip a laser, it'll wake up the imps. Pretty sure if you fart too loud during this section it'd wake the imps. All things considered, unless you're looking for some extra points on that high score, I'd advise not waking the imps. Wheeling back, if you decide to take the boat, you'll find that it's potentially the most precarious route. Firstly, I figured I could just drop down from the bridge and swim to it, but no cliff diving for Action Doom guy. Instead, you need to drop down these specific platforms on cliffside to reach it. Interact with the wheel, and before you know it, you'll be vibing along and forgetting to dodge rocks that'll thoroughly ruin your day. I'll be honest, this is my least favorite route. The margin of error when slipping between rocks here is extremely slim, and man, does this section go on for a while. At least you get to fight a squid at the end of it. Pro tip, aim for the tentacles, I repeat, not for the head. After that, you'll fight through a forest full of imps, and that'll lead you to a crashed van and an elevator, which neatly joins back up with the preceding route. If I had to pick a favorite route though, it would absolutely be through the vent. Why? Well, it leads to this really cool vehicle section where you're battling and jumping between cars as they careen down the motorway. It's very difficult to have a bad time with this kind of setup. That is, unless you hit tarmac. That's an insta-kill. I'm particularly a fan, however, of how this section joins back up with the others. Remember that crashed van from the end of the boat route? Well, wouldn't you know it? This is where it came from. As far as I can tell, that's it for the major routes. There's still another little fork in the road here going forward, but it's much less consequential. Essentially, do you want to deal with the tank, or do you want to deal with the tunnel full of imps? And some turrets. Personally, I like the tanks. They're easy enough to deal with. They're stationary, only occasionally blow me to smithereens. Beyond this, after driving a van through a wall, we'll find the deeper part of the UAC facility, replete with mess hall, testing labs, and a BFG that will absolutely, positively, straight up kill you if you try to use it. The arcade here is actually pretty neat. One of them actually teleporting you into a little secret section where you can bag yourself one of your very own Kako awards. What can I say? Nice to have some recognition. Sadly, the Contra cabinet isn't playable. What a doozy that would be. And as for Doom Kart, RIP. Once upon a time, it was an active project, till that spiky-headed bastard Sonic sped past and stole all its thunder. Should absolutely play Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart, by the way. It's fantastic. A final consolation prize, then, is the fact that the Doom Racer cabinet here is actually playable. It's kind of neat. Anyways, after heading on through to the teleporter room and flipping on the power switches, the active teleport here will take you straight to hell. Of course! Ever wanted to see a river filled with corpses as they flop majestically from atop a bloodfall? Book your infernal UAC holiday today. Some lava platform hopping to be done here. Thankfully, there's a little bit of leeway on the damage ticks, so you can actually dip a toe or two in the hot stuff here without losing a heart, mercifully. A few barons, however, will welcome you on the opposite side before an absolute flood of imps pour in from the back, forcing you to make a break for the teleport, which lands you in, yes, the Flesh Cave. Much better. Not regretting signing up for this particular UAC trip at all. Welcome to the realm of the Big Bad, the root of all misery, the undulating mass that I honestly couldn't be sure was taking any damage from my weapons until I actually made more of a concentrated effort. You see, there's a slight flaw to the boss health meter here in Action Doom. A flaw in that it only really displays every 10 points of damage dealt. So when you're dealing with something like a tanky endgame sumbitch like this one right here, you're really gonna have to wail on him till you actually start to see any kind of progress. I'll be honest, this fight annoyed the shit out of me. If it wasn't for the tanky big kahuna at the back, it was the swarm of imps. If it wasn't the swarm of imps, it was the flesh turrets. Screw those things in particular. Mercifully, there's plenty of resupply crates about the place. Red ones, the kind you'll want to go after, considering those are the ones that actually contain guns. As an aside, gotta mention the explosion sprite. Straight out of Metal Slug, which, in my opinion, is top shelf shit. I mean, it's good, by the way. On the broader subject of weaponry, however, there is actually a decent range here. Default pistol and knife give way to the machine gun, short-range shotgun, a spread fire weapon, rocket launcher, and a flamethrower. We've already been over why the BFG is a bad idea, so we're not really going to count that in the mix. The machine gun, also known I think as the action rifle, is still all reliable to me, and most plentiful too when it comes to the old crate resupply. Certainly felt like the most effective tool I could use against that final boss, because everything else just felt like it had compromise. Well, maybe aside from the rocket launcher, because in practice I found out that that one doesn't actually deal self-damage, so go nuts! But after an extended session of whittling the big boss down to 0, you'll actually be granted with a post-boss escape sequence, which is actually pretty fun if you don't manage to die on the way out.
All around me are familiar faces.
But for all your effort, your reward is a one-way ticket to where else but Phobos, tying the end of Action Doom neatly in with the beginning of OG Doom, and just providing a nice, chill, end-of-game decompress. Alright, who pissed on my couch? Daisy? It's the third time now, goddammit. But yes, Action Doom Rampage Edition is a certifiable blast from the past. I won't lie, however, I do find certain elements of the gameplay here more abrasive than I may once have, thanks to, I guess, the advancements that I've experienced in the Doom modding community over the years. Tends to make older, bumpier kinds of design just stick out a little bit more aggressively. One example off the top of my head, oh god, the time it takes to swap between weapons, that can easily get you killed in a pinch. And in terms of something that's actually been introduced as part of the Rampage Edition, the existence of the 2 weapon slots, while nice, is a little hindered somewhat by the weapon selection still being bound to particular number keys, rather than something just to swap between the 2 available slots. It's something that's iffy in practice. You'd kind of have to experience it yourself to understand. Overall, though, I am very happy to see that Rampage Edition is a thing, sprucing up the presentation of a classic in a way that means it will continue to be discovered and rediscovered by those that have been kicking around a while, and those who are just getting into this wide, wonderful, and more accessible than ever world of Doom modding. As usual, if you're interested in giving Action Doom Rampage Edition a try, you'll find the link to it in the description below. And if you fancy supporting the channel, then why not sign up to my Patreon? $1 a month will get you early access to videos when available, not to mention entry on this here esteemed list of names scrolling up the screen. And if I get my backside in gear, hopefully extra bonus stuff in future. But in any case, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, not to mention suggestions for future editions of Mod Madness. And until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.